shield in overcoming the crisis of 2013. It's been our shield in overcoming the current crisis. And we are coordinating closely our policies. The Cyprus position is taken seriously together with the other small countries that belong to the Eurogroup. It's very seriously into the decision making of all Eurogroup and ECOFIN decisions. And we are determined to continue this cooperation. Of course, our membership in the Euro area, one of the most stable and strongest currencies in the world, comes with obligations. Obligations about macroeconomic stability, obligations about fiscal prudence, obligations about banking stability. We want to be constructive in proceeding with the banking union. We are going to fulfill our obligations. Cyprus supports the completion of the banking union, and we know we have challenges both at European level but also at the national level to face in order to proceed to the completion of the banking union and also the capital market union. Lastly, I would like to thank the President of the Eurogroup for all the Eurogroup decisions taken that have provided us with tools in facing the crisis, the pandemic crisis, and for helping Cyprus to manage relatively successfully the impact of the crisis, as shown with the latest figures, but also the latest estimates of the European Commission for the recovery in 2021. Cyprus had a recession of the magnitude of just 5.1% of the GDP last year, which was the lowest amongst the countries, the European countries with a big tourist sector. And the official projection of the European Commission for the recovery this year is 4.3%. So we believe that by the beginning of 2022, we would have covered most of the lost ground, if not all of the lost ground due to the pandemic. Of course, there is a big degree of uncertainty still going around. We are still using the flexibility clause provided for continuing assistance, but our effort, our joint effort, is to return gradually to normality. So allow me to say a few words in Greek. Είναι πολύ σημαντική η επίσκεψη του Πρόεδρου του Eurogroup στην Κύπρο. Είναι η πρώτη επίσκεψη του για φέτος σε χώρα μέλος του ευρώ και είναι και συμβολική. Είναι συμβολική για την μεγάλη συνεργασία η οποία υπάρχει μεταξύ της Κύπρου ως μέλος του Eurogroup και του ίδιου του Eurogroup. Είμαστε πολύ ευχαριστημένοι που με αυτή την προεδρία του Eurogroup λαμβάνονται υπόψη σοβαρά οι ανησυχίες και των μικρών κρατών και δεν είναι μια υπόθεση μόνο των μεγάλων χωρών η διαχείριση του Eurogroup. Η Κύπρος έχει προστατευτεί λόγω της συμμετοχής της στο ευρώ. Από την κρίση του 2013, η συμμετοχή μας στο ευρώ είναι αυτή η οποία βοήθησε να επανακάμψουμε και είμαστε ένα δημιουργικό μέλος του ευρώ. Έχουμε κάνει πολύ δρόμο μπροστά μας. Το γεγονός ότι δανειστήκαμε από τις αγορές ευνοϊκά για να αντιμετωπίσουμε την κρίση. Το γεγονός ότι έχουμε θετικά πρόσημα από τους οίκους αξιολόγησης. Το γεγονός ότι μπορούμε να δανειστούμε φτηνά την ώρα της ανάγκης. Είναι γιατί έγιναν αυτές οι μεταρρυθμίσεις οι οποίες κατάστησαν την Κύπρο ως ένα επικοδομητικό μέλος της Ευρωζώνης. Και αυτές οι μεταρρυθμίσεις, η δημοσιονομική πειθαρχία η οποία επιβάλλεται σε καιρούς οι οποίοι δεν είναι περίοδοι κρίσης, είναι αυτό το οποίο πρέπει να προστατεύσουμε. Είτε αυτές οι μεταρρυθμίσεις αφορούν τη δημοσιονομική πειθαρχία, είτε αυτές οι μεταρρυθμίσεις αφορούν τον ίδιο τον τραπεζικό τομέα και την προσπάθεια μείωσης των μη εξυπηρετωμένων δανείων. Όλα αυτά είναι προϋποθέσεις της ύπαρξης μας στο ευρώ, της πιο μεγάλης νομισματικής ένωσης η οποία είναι πάρα πολύ σημαντική να είμαστε μέλη της για να προστατεύσουμε τους συμπολίτες μας. Ξανά θέλω να ευχαριστήσω τον φίλο τον Πασκάλ για την επίσκεψή του στην Κύπρο και να τον διαβεβαιώσω ότι η Κύπρος θα συνεχίσει να είναι ένα δημιουργικό μέλος της Ευρωζώνης και της ευρωπαϊκής οικογένειας στην οποία και ανήκω.
Brilliant. Well, good morning, everybody, and it's a great privilege to be here in the Ministry for Finance of Cyprus and to have the opportunity to say a few words to you about the work of the Eurogroup and about the work of the government of Cyprus as they lead the people of Cyprus through the very, very difficult days of the COVID-19 pandemic that of course has affected so many all over Europe. Before I say a few words about our work, I firstly want to recognise the work of Konstantinos, who as Minister for Finance of Cyprus, I believe, has done an excellent job of leading the people of Cyprus through the economic effects of this pandemic. Cyprus is a very important member of the Eurogroup. The input of Cyprus and of your minister into the work of Eurogroup is something that I take really seriously, and the expertise of Konstantinos and his team, and indeed of the Ministry for Finance, is reflected in the Recovery and Resilience Plan that is going to be discussed in ECOFIN on Monday morning, that has already been very warmly received by members of the European Union and is already seen to be a really strong plan that will help Cyprus recover from this terrible, terrible disease. So I'm here today in recognition of the work that Konstantinos does and of the role of Cyprus within the Eurogroup. That just leads on to 3 points that I'd like to make. The first point that I want to emphasise is that within the Eurogroup, it is the contribution of Cyprus to our discussions on banking union, our discussions on capital markets union, our discussions on the future of fiscal policy, is a voice that is listened to and is a voice that I take very seriously as President of the Eurogroup. I passionately agree with the way in which the Minister described the Euro, the Eurogroup and the European Union as being a shield that can help countries deal with challenges that are sometimes bigger than any country can confront on its own, no matter how big that challenge is. If you look at the economic consequences of COVID-19, if you look, for example, at the challenges that climate change poses for all of us, we can only rise to those kind of challenges, and we can only grasp some opportunities if we do so together. And there is no country in Europe, no matter how big that country is, that has the ability to rise to that challenge or to pursue an opportunity in a way that is sufficient if it does it on its own. And there's no country within the European Union that is so small that if they are included in the efforts of Europe, can help Europe achieve more together. And that is my real belief about how Europe can operate and about how Europe will succeed even more in the future. And I say that as a Minister for Finance of a small country on the other side of Europe, but I say it more importantly as President of the Eurogroup, that by coming together, big and small, we achieve more collectively than we can on our own. Secondly, I want to reaffirm what the Minister has said about the ability of Cyprus to recover from COVID-19. If I look at how your economy is forecast to grow for this year and next year, I believe the latest growth forecast has Cyprus growing by just over 4% this year and just under 4% next year. And that is a really strong economic performance in the context of how difficult this disease has been. And it's a particularly strong performance given how Cyprus, like many other countries in Europe, places great value on tourism for employment and also for economic growth. And if I look at that performance at the moment, I believe it is a combination of the really good policies that have been put in place by the Minister, combined with good decision making in the European Union. If I look at the value of the SURE programme, that I believe Cyprus will access over €600 million from, and if I look at the decisions that were made at national level about how to support employers, these in turn were possible because of the work of the Commission, the work of the ECB, and because of decisions that we made in Eurogroup. And then my final point is just to continue to encourage the kind of changes that are happening here within the economy of Cyprus, beginning the journey back to sensible economic decisions and to lower levels of borrowing when it's safe to do that. We're all borrowing to support our economies at the moment because we have to, because we need to, and we will at the right point begin the journey as to how we reduce our borrowing and go back to more normal economic policies. And we will, as a union, decide what is the right point at which we begin that journey. And when that journey begins, we all need to play our part in implementing the decisions that will be needed then. Also to support what the Minister has said about the kind of changes that we'll need to make from a banking point of view. Cyprus has made such progress in reducing non-performing loans within its economy. The efforts of the Minister and his government are recognised within Eurogroup. And while this is always challenging work, the work that the Minister is proposing in relation to how we can continue to protect the tools that have been really important in the progress of Cyprus to date is a really important dimension of the work that is needed to continue with the recovery of the Cypriot economy. So I just want to recognise the importance of the work that has been done by the Minister and by his government. To conclude with my opening point to say that the performance of the Cypriot economy, its recovery, is so impressive. It is being led by a combination of the right national economic decisions and then the right decisions at European level. And I believe the mixture of those decisions will allow the people of Cyprus to continue to recover from the economic effects of this disease. And as President of the Eurogroup, I will continue to work very closely with your Minister on all of the issues that matter both to Europe and to Cyprus. So thank you again for the opportunity to visit you and to be here in this ministry, and I look forward to many years of cooperation between Europe, between Ireland and Cyprus on the issues that matter to our people.
We're going to take only a few questions, please, and one each. Yes, Michelle.
My question is addressed to you, Minister. Have you discussed the global minimum tax proposal, and what's your position on that?
So I'm visiting Cyprus today as President of the Eurogroup, and as President of the Eurogroup, I don't play a role in relation to taxation matters. Because these are matters that are dealt with individually by ministers and by ECOFIN. So if I take your question as Minister for Finance for Ireland and not President of the Eurogroup, we do want to see an agreement at OECD level. We want to see an agreement because we do believe that an agreement, if reached, can bring stability to issues that really do matter for the future of the global economy. I also, though, want to see an agreement that is capable of recognising small and medium-sized economies as well. It is for that reason that the discussions about a global minimum effective tax rate are sensitive and difficult for many. So Ireland is going to continue to be part of the negotiation that is underway, and I hope that we can be part of an agreement in the future, because I do accept that if there is going to be an agreement, it will create challenges for some countries, including Ireland. But I think those challenges and those costs are worth bearing if we can get an agreement on really sensitive issues such as global corporate tax policy. So a difficult process in some regards, but it is a process that we have to see if we can find an agreement on.
Another question?
What does this mean in your position as Ireland, as government, on the EU's unanimity? Because a lot of saying that the EU needs to go unanimous in the discussions on a global level.
Mm-hmm. So again, just speaking as Minister for Finance for Ireland and not as President of the Eurogroup, we believe the principle of unanimity in some policy areas is very, very important to the European Union. However, what we do try to do within the European Union is reach decisions on the basis of consensus. And if I look at how the Eurogroup operates, we try to reach agreement by consensus rather than by necessarily bringing issues to a vote. And actually within the European Union, the vast majority of issues are resolved by consensus and by very patient and careful negotiation. If I look at the realm of tax policy, even though this is a sensitive area, for all countries, all agreements have still been reached by consensus rather than by needing to resort to votes or to difficult decisions being settled by putting them to a vote within groups. So we support the principle of unanimity for particular policy areas, but even with the maintenance of unanimity, agreement is always possible.
Any other question? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was going to say, or even some other opportunity.
Thank you.